short film, film I've actually worked on. Did a lot of promotional stuff. I work for a company called Spiritu Studios, so we do a lot of Catholic stuff. And a priest came to us, and he had this, he does a lot of sidewalk counseling outside of abortion clinics, and he had, it was called A Letter from an Aborted Child. And it's essentially a first-person story. You know, he would give it to women that were considering abortion, and they'd read it, and it was like, you know, Mom, this is what you're doing to me, sort of thing. And so he credits, I think, like over 500 babies he had saved. He had been doing this for like 10 years. So it was very effective. He had a really poor recording of it that, like, he's like, yeah, I let the women hear this, and it was just like really bad recording. He's like, but I want to make a film. And so I seen the power in it, and really wanted to give him justice. He didn't have a whole lot of finances for it, so we really helped him out and really kind of took it on our own. So we had to develop a whole script for it because we had this letter, and we could take that letter and make it a film. Before I made this film, I've been cradle Catholic, edu-Catholic, you know, you're supposed to be pro-life, and so that's about all I knew. And he's like, I really want you to see something. He goes, it's a video of an abortion. It's a medical video of an abortion. I was like, if I'm going to make a film on abortion, I probably should see what this is. And so I watched it, and it was the darkest thing I've ever seen. Seeing, you know, a human being being ripped out of a woman. And so I made this film. We've had a lot of critics of this film, you could say. It gets very intense. The reason why it gets that intense is because what I seen just going on in abortion, it was beyond comprehension. I wanted to convey that in sort of like what the spiritual sense of that is, and how just how damaging it is to the woman and to the child. So, to be more, I think I've learned so much. In any film, any filmmaker, you know, you learn so much. This film was really unique in the sense that it took us 2 years to film, 5 days of filming over the course of 2 years, because a lot of different, the priest kind of had different directions and different things. And so the scene we seen last was actually the first scene we actually shot. So she was supposed to be the oldest there. And then like about a year later, 2 years later, the other scene was shot, or like, you know, the very first stuff. It was done on a couple different cameras. We first started off on the EX3 with the lettuce adapter, so adaptive field I'm kind of geeking out for a minute, but it was before DSLRs were really taking off, and the only way to achieve depth of field was on traditional camera. You have these big 35mm adapters, so the camera was really large, very heavy, and then as DSLRs started to come out, we shot the rest of it on 5 and 7. The actress, we found her off Craigslist. She was great. Her boyfriend, basically, the person we had casted for quit or just said he's not going to show up the day of the filming, and so the guy that visited her boyfriend in there actually was her real boyfriend, because I was like, Amanda, what are we going to do? And I'm like, do you know any person that could do this? And she's like, well, I'm dating a guy, he did a little acting in high school. And so we tried to teach him the lines, and the day it started at 6 p.m. and ended at like 7 a.m. One of the shots when they're outside sort of arguing, that was day for night shots because it was light at that point. And so day for night shots means you shoot during the day, and then in post-production you make it look like it's nighttime. So if you use magic bullet looks, we use a lot of that to kind of make the sky. You could hear the birds kind of chirping in the background. I was so wrecked because like we had little budget, so like we couldn't reshoot this, since we had to just make it work. I'm trying to think of just like little interesting stories. I don't know. Any questions? Yeah.
I just want to say that was a very powerful movie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that should be a hit in theaters before some movies at least. And I have somebody that I can introduce you to show that to also.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
So how do you wrap your mind around like trying to make this happen visually, and editing must have been a challenge.
Yeah, it was hard to sort of. There's many different iterations of this film. The whole scene at the beginning with like the dancing stuff and then like the arguing outside, that didn't exist at first, and so it was almost like a documentary in the sense of like we had a little bit and then like we like put it together and like no, this isn't where we gotta shoot more, and so it was constantly evolving, and we had the flexibility with the priest that we worked with as the executive producer, so we had the time to extend that out. And then the post-production was very extensive, especially the abortion scene. To achieve a lot of the effect that was on there was, I cut the scene roughly, and then I bought an old TV from a thrift store, like a tube television, and filmed that, and then overlaid that on and changed like the opacity so you could see some of the effects to really give it an analog look that you couldn't achieve with just standard plugins. And so I watched a lot of horror stuff to kind of get me sort of like how I wanted to achieve it stylistically, and so that helped. I also didn't know what I was doing either. I mean, like I showed up, I was like, I don't even know. Like we had a really talented director of photography, same one from Zombies. He's great. But I was the least qualified person to make this film because like I had no experience working with actors or acting or anything like that, and so I was just like, by the grace of God, just trying to be a constant learner in it, and I'm still a constant learner. I think that's you just have to be that to keep improving, and so I was just honored to be part of it, just trying to put my best foot forward in it.
So the day for night stuff, did you do some testing on that and all that?
No, we were just forced to do that. Our DP was like, because the sun was coming up, we shot a couple angles with it dark, and then like it was bright, and he's like, let's just shoot day for night. I'm like, I don't know what that means. He's like, that means in post-production you make it look darker. And I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work. He's like, it'll work. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work, and so it worked. Enough. It worked enough. I mean, I could tell some of the stuff, but yeah, it was interesting. All the nice stuff. It was the bars were closing, so the scene where they're outside, the very opening scene where she's like, I'm late, stuff, etc. We show up to the spot there, and there's this drunk guy just annihilated. He's walking, and he falls and hits his head, and he starts bleeding. And so I'm like, part of the crew's like trying to attend to him, and that part of me's like, we gotta help this guy. And the other part was like, no, we gotta shoot the scene. And like, so we ended up calling a cab, and he kind of came to his senses a little bit. And I don't know, that's just a side story. But it was funny, not really funny.
How difficult was it to turn the letter into this story?
Very difficult. Yes, whenever you're working on a film that's not your own, like when it's someone else's story, and you're like, they're directed or whatever, it's very tough. And so, Father Stephen, love the guy, he's a great guy, but he had certain things that he wanted, and even the letter itself was like, really, it wasn't like, it was fine for a letter, but it really wasn't even set up for a story, so we had to rewrite the letter for the film, which he approved, he was fine with, and then trying to make that, like, a lot of people had problems with this film, a lot of people had problems with this film, a lot of pro-life people had problems with this film, and so, we can only do so much in 11 minutes, and you can only tell so much, and so basing it off of this letter, it was just like, how do you make this a story? And so it was just a lot of people. We had a great person to write the screenplay, and so working with her a lot, and I don't know. That really doesn't answer your question, except thinking it's hard.
Yeah, it came together.
Yeah.
Any other questions yet?
The music.
Yeah.
It's still playing in my mind. What was the music?
We had like the song at the end.
Yeah.
That was Mike Mangione. Mike Mangione in the Union. Mama Be Not Afraid. Father Stephen originally wanted Amazing Grace to play at the end, and we were like, I love Amazing Grace, but it was just kind of like, it was a little too like cheesy.
Yeah.
We wanted something that was just felt a little bit more, I don't know, a little more authentic.
I think it fit very good.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that song. Yeah, Mike Mangione in the Union, I really highly recommend checking him out.
And was the writer or someone involved on set all the time, or was it more like they trusted you to?
Yeah, so we had, there was a producer that kind of, Oscar, he got me and Father Stephen hooked up, and he knew this woman, Susie, who wrote the screenplay. And so she was there for most of the scene, for most of the days of shooting, and yeah, it was just kind of, she'd send me versions, and then I'd tweak it and send it back, and so she didn't really have, Father Stephen kind of had like the final say and stuff, and so, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Rod.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.